the center of the galaxy. Couldn't hear myself for a second. This is ForceCenter, a live show about Star Wars pop culture and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and I'm happy to be here and clear my throat with Ken Napzok.
We're doing it. It is a holiday Monday here in America, Memorial Day. So remembering those who have fallen here today, but we wanted to keep broadcasting and keeping our schedule going. And also we knew that, hey, maybe some more folks, at least here in the States, would be available to watch live shows where they haven't in the past. I think Yarnstead already said that. Look at that. Yarnstead. Glad to catch an episode live, usually at work. Too shy to call in, but not too shy to share a generous super chat. We'll get to that one here. So yeah, Joseph, we're here on a Monday to talk Mandalorian and Grogu.
That is right. And I'm very excited to do it. You and I recorded our big, epic 2.5 hour discussion. It's a review and a discussion and an exercising of emotions of many kinds, discussing Mandalorian and Grogu. The release of a new Star Wars film is like it's a big special holiday weekend in and of itself. And, you know, it was a little bit different several years ago when there were 5 in a row coming out, one every year, right? And now that's part of what the Mandalorian and Grogu is like, what's a Star Wars movie like nowadays? This is a different movie. There's consumed by the box office discussion and all that, but it's been great to just really engage with the film, engage with the story. You and I got a chance to really talk about it, and I'm really excited to be able to hear from ForceCenter pals of their feelings and reactions.
Yeah, looking forward to taking calls. We got some already lined up. We got Will, Maddie, Elias, Jared checking in. I'm sure we'll have more. I'm right there with you. It was, I got to say, our review and deep dive discussion, which is how we've always branded them, but this was perhaps deeper than others. It was one of my favorite discussions to just crawl up inside this movie like Grogu into Din's arms. That was sadder as I expressed my emotions over that. And just have a discussion about the film. And we're going to take your calls, like Joseph said today. It's normally something we do on Fridays. We're moving it to today. We probably do something on Friday too, but note too, like if you got a question, a doubt, something that didn't hit for you, this is also the place. We don't want to overwhelm everybody with positivity and that you can't dissent. Like that's never really been what we're doing here. It's all about the how and the why, and are you part of the community and the flow and the vibes of the conversation. So I know we have some ForceCenter friends who are like, hey, you liked it, but this didn't hurt. It's okay to express that here. I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah, it's a fascinating and strange movie, and we all have different wants and desires and perceptions. So, yeah, it largely worked for Ken and I, but totally open to what parts people struggled with or didn't land for them.
Yeah, and I only bring that up because, in fact, Eli's here, and Eli came to our comedy show last night. We're so good to see Eli. So, hey, everyone, great to see Ken and Joseph last night. He had a great post out there on Blue Sky, saying some nice words about us and Alex and Molly Damon of Star Wars Explained, which is always appreciated, but also highlighted some other Star Wars podcasts that are smaller that kind of keep the positive thing going. And there's just so much. I've just been reminded just about that word positive as a new film has come out, and you and I have done our thing, and when Jennifer comes back, she'll do her thing as well with us about the movie. And I that word positive can absolutely be a weapon. I've already seen it be thrown against. It's always thrown against our show by a certain section, but former coworkers and colleagues. But don't misunderstand what positive means. It doesn't mean the sunshine. Harry Shearer doing the thing he does in Mighty Wind, all lollipoppy fun. It is the space. It is the community that is something we keep positive as in terms of experience for people. The discussion is different from that. I didn't mean to soapbox, Joe.
No, please.
It was coming up.
You got room on the soapbox? I'm going to climb up next to you.
Please, sir.
Maybe friendly. Maybe friendly would be better than positive sometimes. We're often, our honest opinion on Star Wars storytelling is often we have a more positive opinion than some people. But in terms of hosting a community, it's friendly. You can say I really dislike Mandalorian in Grogu as long as you're friendly about it. That's great, and that's all I want. And is if somebody wants to tell me why they really didn't like something I love, as long as they're friendly about it, then it can be a great discussion. To me, it's when we get into let's make these subjective things objective, or snark wars or the grift or the refusal to engage with what's really on screen, which is, a bee that gets in my bonnet. And I've got a couple of pals on Facebook are just like, I think your arms were crossed so high they were in front of your eyes, because it's fine if you didn't like the movie, but the things you're describing did not happen in the movie. They happened in your anger. And that's the thing that just, I'm getting off the soapbox.
Well, hey, you use the phrase bees in your bonnet, which is one of my all-time favorite phrases. So we're off and running here today.
We got this important question here from Jared, the TIE pilot. Is this a spoiler stream? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. I really, really hate to have people dip out. But for me, it's just, it's so hard to have any sort of substantive conversation without getting into some details. So I would say if you haven't seen it and you want to be totally spoiler free, this might not be the stream. How do you feel, Ken?
I'm with you on that. I'd love to make those who haven't seen the film involved in the conversation, but this is a reaction from our ForceCenter pals, and so this will be here for you when you come back, and we understand if you haven't had a chance to see it. Not everyone isn't working on the weekends or has the $92 needed to go to the movies, all that stuff. So
exactly. Anyways. Exactly.
And one thing we don't say, this normally when we do our Star Wars news show, I don't have all the numbers in front of me, I will say. But the conversation around the box office is obviously something that's going to happen. It's going to always happen. And I think, acknowledge always that, this is a business. And I like positive stories about Star Wars projects and numbers, views, and box office. I want to stay consistent in my conversation around it, where I do find it overall kind of a boring conversation, especially when it's used on the first night. This is tracking lower than this and that. And then, surprise, surprise, it is doing well. It's going to make its money back, which is something, as a Star Wars fan, I do want these films to do. I do want the business to go good. I understand the C-suite suited execs counting the ledgers there. But I did like seeing that. It turned. And even, we won't name them, Joseph, but some of the same outlets that were really snarky on Thursday and Friday are like, oh, late weekend surprise. Like, it is what it is.
Yep. Yeah, I think my thoughts on the box office is I want the film to do well, because I think it is a good film. I think the box office matters in that it dictates in the immediate term what might get made next. So I think it's important in that way. The art and the story will live on, and you can quiz people and they don't know whether Casablanca was a hit or not. It's just a great movie that has survived time. But the box office is important. I also think the box office is important in terms of how we're talking about the modern moment in entertainment, filmmaking, and in general. I think we have observed for a while that people who talk about pop culture on YouTube figured out, YouTube will give me a higher bump in the algorithm if I'm snarky. I feel like really traditional outlets are like, oh God, please fail. Because huge famous outlets are like, oh man, please stumble. And it's been a fascinating weekend to see, like, okay, well, the algorithm and the money attached to it has deteriorated to the point where, like, outlets are hoping a movie doesn't do well and they have to begrudgingly change their headline. So I think that's important, and just sort of observing what is truth and what is spin. And I also think it's a really important moment in terms of how willing are we as a culture to take in the many factors going on in an insane bonkers moment. Much of the world changed during COVID. The shenanigans going on at the top of the government are having massive financial impacts to everyone. The Star Wars franchise is changing. Kathleen Kennedy, Jon Favreau aren't sitting there going, we'll make $300 million opening weekend. It's a smaller Star Wars film, and it's meant to be. So there are all these factors that make it, and many more, make it bonkers to compare the box office of Mandalorian and Grogu to The Force Awakens in 2015. It's like, there's not the entire, it's it's the painting on the roof of the Sistine Chapel versus a doodle I did on a napkin at a diner. They're not the same thing, and they shouldn't be analyzed the same thing. So I think the box office conversation to me is important too, It's a larger measuring of how willing is a culture to have honest conversations versus let's cut out all those details so we can just have a win or lose headline.
Yeah, that is a puts bees in my bonnet conversation too, and you touched on it there. I won't remix all of it. I saw someone on social media, I forget, probably Threads, which is a weird thing, and I'm spending more time on it because for promotional reasons. But someone was doing how is this a win and compared it to Solo. I actually think David Mackay in chat, if he's there, he commented on the thread as well, and it was just like, look, either you're doing it for dumb engagement or you're trying to have this conversation because he seemed like he was just trying to actually be, this is a failure. You cannot have that conversation without COVID. You cannot have that conversation without, I will say, the politics of the time. We've talked about this in the toy world, where you have a lot of red pill coated toy guys on YouTube complaining about the high prices of Black Series figures and not acknowledging the fact that an administration has almost done the impossible, a president directly affecting the economy in this way. It's hard for one president to affect the economy. It truly is. If you look at historians and economists and everything, like, it's part of it. It's this, it's that. But there's a lot of factors, right? OPEC plus, all that stuff. But no, it's being affected. And they don't want to include that in their conversation because I get it. Maybe you don't want to dive into the politics of it all. And we aren't, I'm not an economist, but it's just like, that is part of the conversation comparing to something to 2018 to now. And that's a bee in my bonnet as well. We're just keeping soapboxes up.
Yes. And now we can make room for on the soapbox for some pals, huh?
Yes, we did. And David said I did. And David was direct and honest with the guy. But again, it's probably disengagement. But anyway, all right, let's take calls. We got Will, we got Maddie, we got Elias, we got Jared, Ethan, Anthony, Steve. We got folks checking in here. If you want to call in, we should remind you it is a Patreon exclusive. We don't even put it in the Discord just because sometimes I don't mean to sound so gatekeepery, but if you stop supporting us on Patreon, you can still kind of be in the Discord, which we've always kind of been fine with. It's never been a problem. You're in, you're part of the community. But for this, we want to make sure that current supporters get the opportunity to call in. Video, if you're ready, put your face up and we'll bring you in. So on that note, let's bring in Will, first call of the day. Will from the shadows there. How you doing, my friend?
Shadows. You guys got my blood up with that intro, so
sorry.
All right.
So there you go. How you doing? Yeah, what you got? Thoughts on the film? Things you love, things you don't. Where you at?
I wanted to go into the Lone Wolf and Cub a little bit, if you would allow me. When I was watching it, I've only seen it the one time, but when Grogu has his second half kind of silent film moment, I was reminded of a specific story or a couple of stories in Lone Wolf and Cub where Daigoro, Lone Wolf has severe fever after a previous adventure, and Daigoro has to care for him, and it's very, very similar. And so I was like, oh, are we getting a little bit of a, I mean, obviously Lone Wolf was a huge inspiration for this series, and so it's like this is a Daigoro film that we're going to do right here. And so Grogu provides in very much the same way, providing fish, figuring out how to handle the particulars of fire making, and he's doing all this as little more than a toddler. And Grogu is in a similar vein. So I went home and started rereading some of those stories because it's been a while, and very much enjoyed revisiting that and giving my little whether it was Filoni or Favreau, somebody had fun reading through some Lone Wolf stuff.
Yeah.
But it then reminded me of your breakdown last night or the other night, where there was, I think, Joseph, you mentioned that Grogu, there's a line where where Din says that he doesn't talk, and I haven't seen a lot of discussion about that too much yet, but I wondered if, and I wanted to get you guys' thoughts, if Daigoro doesn't talk in Lone Wolf, except saying Papa occasionally, and occasionally he will sing a song, and just in the cart, but he doesn't converse. And I wondered if, in this vein for Mando and Grogu, if they're trying to preserve that kind of element for Grogu, where they can keep the Lone Wolf and Cub mystique without getting into a situation where it changes a whole lot with Daigoro or I keep saying that, I'm sorry, with Grogu starting to talk, and they run into that balance of how do they handle that. So just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that and see what you thought.
Yeah, I am now obsessed, Will. Now I will not stand for any what will Grogu's first word conversation be, only what will Grogu's first song be. I need him to sing now. No, I was really struck by that line because it could have been he doesn't speak yet. But it was he doesn't speak. And in a film where I think there were lots of moments where, we explored how people are different, and sometimes they feel like that's a weakness, sometimes they feel it's a strength. And I think ultimately, like Star Wars always does, people are being encouraged to feel like you are great the way you are. That it felt like a balance. Like Din is the man with, quote unquote, no face. He's just the helmet, but he emotes and we know what he thinks and feels. And Grogu makes little noises, but he doesn't say words. But we really know what he thinks and feels, and he's listening and responsive and communicative in his whole film. He's communicating. He's not just babbling and wondering what's going on like a real little kid. So that line did feel like maybe an indicator of things to come, of this is some part of, the way for Grogu, of maybe he doesn't speak, and maybe someday he'll communicate only in song.
Yeah, and in a film that, like you said, Joseph, does touch upon, we'll find a uniform for you, no matter who you are, what you are, come on in, we'll get a uniform for you. I think it does, at least right now in Grogu's tale, put him in there to represent a being that communicates in other ways and learns in other ways, and I think that's pretty special. It was also a funny moment, but it wasn't played for jokes if you go back and kind of watch it. Again, there's always these lines and funny, and the Grogu Din Djarin relationship always has those kind of funny little beats, but I think it's more poignant than, you're right, Will, people haven't really started talking about it. So I love that. I love what it might mean. I still want to make little jokes about what Grogu's first word might be, and song now, great. And I'm glad you brought up Lone Wolf and Cobb. It's no secret that is a big, giant inspiration for this story, and other stories as well out there in pop culture. It's a lot of those films from that era are. We just had a conversation about this, or at least I don't know if you were in the green room at that point. Mike Black, former ForceCenter guest, was on the show with us last night, and he liked the film enough, but he just sparked him to have a deeper conversation with me about Lone Wolf and Cub, which I have not taken in yet. And I think that's also part of the fun of Star Wars, is going back and finding those influences too. So I'm glad you highlighted.
Sure.
Yeah.
Those films, if you whether you read the comics or watch the old 6-film box set that is out there, they're just built exactly like this movie is. They will take 2 or 3 comics, put them 1, 2, 3, and you just kind of cycle through the Avengers. So that hardline break in the middle where it's like, well, the Imperial side of this is over. Din's badassery moment is over. Now let's move on to Grogu's story. It had very much that kind of vibe to it. I'm like, this is like a Lone Wolf film from the 1980s.
That's great. So cool.
It's amazing. Well, thank you so much for calling and sharing your thoughts. Got a lot of calls today, so we won't spend as much time with everyone today as we will on other shows, but I really appreciate that, and good stuff, my friend.
All right. Take care.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Will.
Got a couple kind super chats coming in.
Sorry, my finger's not reading. I feel like Grogu pressing buttons.
Hit them buttons. I want to grab a couple of these real quick, and we'll get our next call. Yarn said real early on with a generous super chat, says, my reaction, fun, heartwarming, something I expect to watch over and over. Did you catch R2 at Adelphi being lifted out of X-Wing in the first shots of the base? Thanks, ForceCenter, for all you do. I don't know if it's the same shot. There's a shot that was in the trailer where the lighting's kind of it's hard to tell whether it's blue or red. So I'm not sure whether I saw R2 or not. Maybe that's a mystery that we can all decide until StarWars.com tells us.
Yeah, so I definitely missed it if it is. I've seen it. I've seen that opening 3 times now. I had that previewed. I've been focused on other things, and I did. You know what I will say? I put on Alex's Easter egg and explained video this morning, and I got distracted making coffee. And you're watching something and you realize, I started that, so I have to go back and watch and see if I pointed that out.
Yeah.
There you go.
Also want to grab this one from Jared Kozal. Thank you, Jared. It says, I went to One Trade's website, and the article was Mandalorian and Grogu exceeds expectations with high audience scores. I go to another, and it's lowest opening for any Disney Star Wars. Disappointing. Same box office number, 2 different spins. Yeah, and it's something we've been talking about for a while as we talk about the box office numbers. I think there's the fact, and then there's the spin, and that's definitely going to continue into. What does the second weekend do? Is it a drop of 40%? And is that disastrous, or is that actually quite impressive? It'll all be spin. Thank you though, Jared, for the very kind super chat.
Yeah. And you know, word of mouth will definitely help. I was talking about this with a friend of mine, kind of a little more outside the Star Wars bubble of just, you know, projects that he hasn't seen right away. He also says a young kid doesn't have time, but there's a little bit of that, like, oh, I heard kind of mentality, which I get it. It's natural. I'm not calling anyone out for that. And he just said, at one point, he was like, I had heard Solo was bad. I was like, well, you heard wrong, but also try it out yourself. And maybe it is bad or maybe it's good. Just give it a watch. I think there's so much positive word of mouth in just the, oh yeah, fun. That I think it you know, might care. I know the second week box office drop is going to happen. It's just the nature of it, but also the nature of the business.
How big is it going to be?
It's different how big. My dad. Remember, my dad. I always tell that story. At the end of episode 7, told me I think they're leaving it open for more. He loved it. He loved Mandalorian and Grogu. You know, he didn't watch the show. He doesn't even know what Disney Plus is.
Yeah,
he does not. No idea.
What is internet, Ken? Yeah.
So anyway, I got a couple more super chats, comments. We'll take a call. We got Maddie Gunner checking in here. Limtalica, that's a great name. Limp Bizkit and Metallica in a crossover event no one thought they wanted. All I wanted and hoped for was a straightforward, fun adventure movie, and that's exactly what it was. Though I did think in the back of my mind, I still suspected some bigger moments and character cameos, and I understand that too. I don't even think that's not presented as a criticism, but I think. No. I get that when some of the conversation is the smaller stakes. I know I think I went off on a little bit of a soapbox rant on the review of just like the safe and small stakes doesn't necessarily work for me in terms of the characters. But I also understand it, you know, and Zeb, there wasn't a grand explanation of who Zeb was. I don't think you needed to, but you know, I understand if you're kind of like, some more kind of thing, not necessarily Thrawn showing up, you know what I mean, like a level 4.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fair point.
I think it's totally fair, and we here at ForceCenter contributed to it with some of our desires of like, hey, I said many times I want to dig into Grogu's trauma, and I think he lost Kelleran, and that's why one of the reasons he fears losing Din, and it was a surprise to me how much the film was like, no, this is littered with Jarek and Embo and Zeb, but no, we really mean it. We really want it to be accessible to everybody. And I understand people having lots of different feelings about that because it's a really strong choice in the film.
It is indeed. We've got a couple more subjects we can get to, but let's get to our buddy who's always staying up late in the UK. He's the man truly from the shadows. Unlike Will, it's Matty Gunner. Matty, how you doing, my holy Snokes friend?
I'm doing good, gents. How are you?
Good.
Doing great.
Ken, I should let you know there was actually a Metallica Limp Bizkit crossover. It was an MTV Icon event, and Limp Bizkit performed, I think it was Welcome Home Sanitarium, and then Snoop Dogg did Sad But True right after him. It was
what?
Really? Yeah.
Sad But True is one of my favorite Metallica songs, so I got to check this out.
I will send it to you. It was a really weird, like Sum 41 played 1, I think.
Oh no.
Oh.
Where was Saliva and all of this? No? Okay.
No idea.
Good. Thank you, Maddie, for that information. I will file it away. Hold on.
Sorry.
I'm filing it away.
He bought props. Comedian.
For podcast listeners, Ken's doing prop comedy. So, Maddie, what were your feelings on The Mandalorian and Grogu? I
love this movie. I absolutely loved it. I went to a 5:00 showing of it on a Friday at the BFI IMAX, the largest IMAX screen, definitely in the UK. I'm not sure about Europe.
Oh, wow.
But this was at 5:00, not an empty seat in the house.
Wow.
Kids there, cosplayers, like kids that probably should have been in school, but maybe played a little bit. But that's fine. We'll allow it.
Yeah.
And just people of all ages there, and not a dry eye in the house, whether it be from the moment with with Din and Grogu, where we think Din might bite the blaster bolt, or can I just say, I've never laughed harder at Star Wars comedy than I have in this movie.
Oh, good.
Big pipe, huh?
Yeah.
I was laughing for like 3 minutes after that. I was crying.
There is some great stuff. I love Din not fitting in his hidey hole. This might be one of my favorite Star Wars comedy bits.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for the Anzellans. What's that, Maddie? Sorry, I stepped on you.
I need an Anzellan movie. Like, not a series, not a special presentation, not an animated movie, full feature motion picture.
Love it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. What if we had a Saturday morning live action show featuring the Anzellans and Grogu, and it's almost like Pee Wee's Playhouse, but it's just like
Sesame Street.
Kind of. You go into their workshop.
What about like Antiques Roadshow? But it's just like it's a total like cars, autos and Anzellans, and you just bring broken crap to them, and they tell you that it can't be fixed.
Not with the Jawas.
Yeah. Or they fly in with their little tiny cute ship and land wherever you are. I've got this item, and they're like, let's see it. Yeah, that'd be great. I'm with you, Maddie. I'm with you. Any other things you loved or liked, or even things maybe you question, Maddie?
So, I don't have a very deep, meaningful relationship with my dad, but I really latched on to so last year I saw my best friend become a dad, and how much that has changed him, and how much he has grown, how much the amount of self-development he has gone through in becoming a father. And just seeing Din, one of the criticisms of this film is you don't get to see a whole lot of character arc from Din, which I completely disagree with. You have him in the first season where he almost gives Grogu up. He's like, oh, this is just a target. This is just a bounty. What do I care if the Empire takes off and does whatever they want with this kid? Now he is willing to sacrifice himself so Grogu can go out. He trusts Grogu enough that he has trained him well enough that he can survive without him. And then one day he's going to have to. And he's at one point, I feel like he would have been like, no, we're going to find a ship. We're going to get out of here together. This time he's like, no, I can't get on that ship with the Anzellans. Can you put it beautifully in your discussion about the whole relationship between him and Grogu again? I was tearing up hearing you talk about it, like Grogu maybe resting in his arms for the last time. Man, that really got to me in your discussion yesterday, because I didn't think of it that way. And then it's just a whole. I don't want to say it's like an arc that came to an end, like a hero's journey kind of, because I think there is more story to be told with these two. But just seeing the growth of Din Djarin, not as the Mandalorian, Din Djarin as the man underneath the helmet, even though we don't see a lot of the man underneath the helmet. I think we got quite a lot of it out of this movie, and especially of Grogu too.
No, I'm with you, Maddie, and I think there's even a thoughtful comment here from Salah Von Bako, a long time here. I'll just read here. My issue with the film is that I felt there was no character development at all from the beginning to end for Grogu or Din. They began one way and ended the same exact way I did Lavrada. And I actually understand. That's another thing I think I understand. I think it is in the moments you're talking about. It is they enter that moment, their relationship is forever changed at that point forward. But I think with just Din as a character, Din Djarin, I always got to clarify, there are technically two Dins in this, right? Din Djarin, like he's with the mask. I think it can be hard to read. He doesn't end up in the New Republic. There isn't something that you can easily point to, and I'm not saying Salah Von Bako needs something easily pointed to. That's what I'm saying. But I understand it. It's a different kind of development than I think maybe you'd expect or even want. So I'm with you though, Maddie. I connected to that moment as the change.
Yeah, I really understand where people are coming from, and I know Osvetnik has some thoughts, and I think Ethan's called in, so we'll get to hear those thoughts as well. But to me, I think both Din and Grogu definitely have arcs. I think they're very small. I don't think they take massive steps forward, but I think they do take steps forward. And for Din, I think there's a lot of things. There's definitely the right I need to take the seatbelt off the kid. I've trained him and I trust him, but I'm still kind of keeping him close. And he shouldn't fly. He shouldn't touch the button. He should stay in his seatbelt. In that real metaphor of like, no, he was there. He kept me alive. In order for him to grow, I got to give him a little bit more room and let him take a little bit more risk and teach him even more. I think that's a definite arc. It's small, but it's there. I also think didn't the kind of guy who, oh God, if he can keep things simple, great. It's the kind of guy who lives by a code and like, I have 7 rules for everything and they cover every instance, you know, don't eat Ronta on Tuesdays. Got it. It's in the code. My life is simple. And I think he starts the film of like, here's what I want. I want honorable work. So you give me a card and I go kill an Imperial. And he's told, sorry, dude, there's nuance. You got to capture them alive. You got to think about why you're doing this. You got to question this. You got to question that. And I think he does. He just wants to be an independent contractor. And he's got to admit at the end that he's kind of a part of a community. Again, I'm not saying these are massive life-changing things, but I think there's signposts at the beginning that he's in one place and he's moving towards another place by the end. But agree, it's not huge.
If you allow me one more little point about, because Joseph, I think you really bring up a really good point about him sticking to the code there. I actually think, and I've seen a few people say that, you know, the rule about the taking off the helmet, I actually think he deviates from the code a little bit in this, because I interpret that in a different way of like when they said, oh, we took your helmet off, you know, we dishonored you, when he said, not if you die. I don't think that's him being like, aha, there's a loophole in this code. No, I think that's like, no, you're not going to survive this to tell anyone you took the helmet off me.
That's a great question. I almost feel like, you know, that'd be really cool if that was the answer. But, you know, in those early seasons, we saw Armor ask, you know, have you ever removed your helmet? Has anyone ever, you know, removed it from you? And they always answered no. And I wonder if they answered yes, if the follow-up is like, okay, sub question B, did you kill the MFers? And then they'd be like, yes. Okay, well, then we're good. I feel like maybe we just never heard the follow-up part of the rule.
I agree with that. Very good. Maddie, thank you. And you can go back to wearing your helmet today.
It's pretty warm. So.
Thank you, Maddie. Thank you, Maddie. All right. We got more super chats. You guys are hanging with us today. We appreciate that. Lextano saying, love the film. It was fun, adventurous, action-packed, funny. I love, here's one from general super chat from Jared. I went to One Trade's website, and the article was Mandalorian Grogu exceeds expectations with high audience scores. I go to another, and it's lowest opening for any Star Wars Disney, disappointing. Same box office number, 2 different spends. And yeah, and it can get exhausting, and I get it. But yeah, that's kind of the thing that I'm talking about there.
I want to grab just a few more before we do our next call. Cloned Avenger says, since both Grogu and Rada can live hundreds of years, I wonder if we could see them as BFFs in a way. Future sequel could be a fun dynamic. Yeah, I think the film had a light touch on it, but I think we were reminded that Rada is young for a Hutt, and that's part of the connection with Grogu, with the napping and the playing. So it'd be great to see them together down the road.
Yeah. If this was 1985, Joseph, we'd be. I'm obsessed with Saturday Morning right now. We'd have the Rada and Grogu Adventure Hour animated show with some cool theme song that played. Oh, give me that.
And if it's a hit, then Jar Jar and the Anzellans in their band is the follow-up Saturday Morning cartoon. Spooky Mulder Fortuna says, I love the symbolism of the antidote Gattori gives Grogu, resembling the shape of his treats. This time there's no comedy beat of Grogu eating something he shouldn't. Instead, we get a quiet moment of a son helping his dad. That is a great observation, and so much in this film about eating and feeding.
Yes.
And who eats who and who feeds who and all sorts of great stuff. One more here from the Cali Kid, who says, I love the Mandalorian Grogu. I laughed and got choked up when Mando was dying and Grogu was trying to help him. Also, when Ward calls out Mando, it felt like a callback homage to Grief Karga. Very much agreed.
That's awesome there. Great. Thank you, Cali Kid. We got Elias. We got Jared queued up. Ethan, Anthony, Steve, Ryan. Big calls today. So let's get right to it with Elias. Let me make sure set up the right shot. There we go, Elias. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good.
Great on a Monday. Your thoughts? Where you at?
Oh, I saw the movie yesterday with my 8-year-old son at
Mm.
the IMAX at Jordan's Furniture. I'm giving a little plug in Reading, Mass. Because the only reason I bring that up is because it's the same place I went to see Rogue One at. It's a fantastic IMAX screen, and it really did the movie justice.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
It had a blast. I love. Okay, my favorite thing about the movie
Yeah, tell us.
is something I didn't expect at all. Is that Rada the Hutt is fabulous. He's a hero. They made him a
Mhm.
hero. I was so happy about that. I was overjoyed, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple things about it. I mean, one was that they made him such a unique character who was his own guy, and they made it clear multiple times throughout the movie that he's his own person and don't judge him by his dad's actions or
Mhm.
who his dad was. And the way that he was accepted, and you guys beautifully went over this in your recap, the way he was accepted into the rebel group or whatever they are.
Mhm.
I love that they did that too, because it sends a really good message.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I loved about the movie was Grogu. He was
Mm.
fabulous. I'm not upset that he didn't speak. I kind of also wondering, is he like kind of neurodivergent or something?
Mm.
Or maybe that'll be one way to keep him from not having to speak.
Mhm.
But whether he does or not,
Yeah.
I thought he was fabulous. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I had a few tiny nitpicks, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
I did too.
Welcome to nitpick, but I'm real curious how your son felt.
You know, my son's favorite scene was when Grogu was trying to push Din into his makeshift hut, and he kept clanging his helmet. He loved that. And I was surprised. Yeah, he was watching the whole movie and getting up to strain to see the subtitles when the Hutts were
Okay.
talking Huttese.
That's
I was
amazing.
really into it,
That's
which
amazing.
I was surprised, because it can
Love
be
that.
hard for little kids to be
Mhm.
into movies, especially long ones.
Yeah.
Indeed.
It's a long movie
Yeah.
for an 8-year-old, but yeah, definitely the two times that I've seen it so far, there were kids and they were up and swinging their lightsabers after the screening.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Laserbolt said in chat that he dressed up in his Mando armor before the movie. I'm trying to find the comment. I forgot to favorite it. He said no one was paying attention to him after the movie. All the families and the kids wanted to take photos with him. So I think that's good as well. Regarding Rada, I'm with you too, and thank you for the kind words about the words we said about Rada. But I'm surprised that I think I came out of the first viewing going, I know I'm gonna like Rada. I've been saying that name Rada for a while. We've been celebrating Rada here at ForceCenter. I'll see where it lands for other folks. And well, I still say I get the Hutts maybe look a little different on screen in live action than maybe we'd want or are used to. I understand that. But I'm surprised that there's a lot of Rada love out there from people who have no idea he was a punky muffin or a stinky little Huttlet at one point. And that was kind of fun to experience the last couple of days.
Yeah, I think he just had so much heart to him and such an important part of the narrative and such great lessons. I think, that really relatable desire to want to feel seen and respected for who you are. And he basically kind of thinks he's got it with his shortcut of like, they cheer for me when I'm violent. And then realizing, nope, there's better ways to be accepted. It's a beautiful message. And I love that. Yeah, he was just a totally serious, important, charming character,
Yeah, indeed. Elias, thank you so much. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
Yeah. Well, just one little nitpick I wanted to put out there, and maybe they're listening. There weren't a lot of human characters in the film, and Din was mostly helmeted, so we barely got to see his face. So maybe leave the cameos of certain people, leave them to a minimum, and maybe have a little more screen time for Carson Teva.
Yeah.
And even Zeb. I wanted to hear Zeb and Carson Teva and Din Djarin sitting at the bar chatting about their new their new life together. Just 30 seconds of that and maybe cut out 10 minutes of all the fighting. There was maybe a little too much alien fighting, but
There you go.
Yeah,
it seems weird to complain about that, huh?
I think it's fine to be honest about nitpicks, and I think I kind of shared them. I love the action, and the action feels to me very meaningful because I think the film wants to discuss violence. But in total, I'd be like, yeah, there's one or two, there's maybe one fight we could lose or condense, just for pacing. And I agree. I feel really bad. It's not that I don't want to see Dave Filoni, and I love the tradition of director cameos, but it was the one thing in my screenings where somebody who wasn't super all in on Star Wars would go, why did the whole audience burst into a mixture of laughs, cheers, and groans when that guy appeared on screen? And it so bounces you out of, I shouldn't speak for everybody. It has the potential to bounce people out of the fantasy and out of the narrative. So I'm with you on your nitpick. It's not the end of the world, but I really get it.
That's good. That's great stuff.
Thanks,
yeah. So there's a lot of droids, a lot of creatures, and I think that's just straight up cheaper, obviously. And I get that kind of choice using the droid gotcha and everything like that. But there you go. At least, Elias, we'll always have Andor for our humans.
Yeah, it's like anti-Andor.
There you go. All right, Elias, thank you so much for calling in and sharing your thoughts, my friend. All right, roll along. We got Jared coming in here. We got a lot of calls today. This is great. We appreciate y'all. Again, if you're a Patreon supporter, you can call into the show live. Jared's on the show. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Happy Memorial Day to everyone, and especially those who have a family member or friend who served. But in the keeping of fun Star Wars characters and lore, I want to kind of build off what Elias was talking on and talk a little bit more about Rada, because
Rada, yeah.
he really was the breakout character of this movie for me. I mean, I loved all of it in terms of the action and the fun, thematic parallels, especially with Mando and Grogu, and I loved the Anzellans. But the thing about Rada was that, when we first heard that he was going to be in the movie and it was going to be voiced by Jeremy Allen White, I will acknowledge that even though I was excited to hear Rada was coming back, it was one of those moments where I did a literal double take at the Deadline article. I'm like, who is playing who? Okay.
Yep. Same.
But the thing is that, like, I'm sure that there is a bad faith stream of discourse out there that's just like, oh, it's another like obscure character plucked from an animated show that they're just putting in there to get the nerds to go for their glup shittos. But I think that completely misses the point, because if you look at the way the movie uses Rada, he is kind of the emotional linchpin of the entire film. Like, he is, all the main themes that we kind of see with Din and Grogu, the idea of like the father-son parenting bond and how it's evolving, and like what Din is doing to kind of trust and let Grogu grow and develop and become his own person. And then also, Joseph and Ken, you've talked about the nature of violence and how certain characters use it, whether it's in Din's case, basically as a means to an end to help protect, his people, and also to essentially possibly get revenge, but when then reinforcing what the violence actually is for, and then Rada using it more for like entertainment and fame as a way to kind of self-determine, and then the Imperials and the Hutts using it as a tool to control. And then also just the idea of community, people coming in, like species and people from all walks of life coming together to essentially protect this project, this fragile new republic that is trying to do right by the galaxy and heal the wounds of the Empire. And every single one of those themes ultimately runs not only through Din and Grogu, but also through Rada. And so he actually becomes a very like fleshed out, three-dimensional, fully realized character. And you, even though like, yes, you could, like, some people could just boil it down to, oh, Punky Muffin, became a stud. There's a point that he actually, like, of why he's doing that. And I just thought that like they could have easily just used Rada in that gladiatorial arena as more of as a kind of like a manosphere bro type character, and that would have been a lesser use of him. But like one of the things that ultimately connected with me with Rada was the fact that of his empathy and his kindness, and like the fact that he just every time he interacts with Grogu, Grogu, he's gentle and thoughtful, and the fact that Grogu trusts him immediately, it means it's kind of like the dog likes the character, or the cute alien character, like they're on the up and up. But even when we see Rada later in the film using his physical talents, essentially, his violence outside of the gladiatorial arena, whether it's during the escape from Janu Coin's estate when he destroys that speeder,
it was great, yeah.
Or when he's fighting his aunt and uncle, and basically they kind of represent the ugly reflection of what not only people expect Hutts to be in general, but what they expect him to be, and they despise him because they think he's weak and an obstacle, and he is essentially fighting for his right to self-determine in addition to his survival. And I just thought that that's actually like one of the things that I thought the movie, it's subtle in the sense that people don't necessarily expect that level of emotional depth from a CG Hutt voiced by the guy from The Bear, but it's the truth. Like Rada is probably the movie's the character that goes through the strongest sense of emotional catharsis in this movie. And at the end when he makes the decision, I actually want to stay here and help out with the New Republic, and Mando even makes the joke about the uniform that you've highlighted, but then Zeb just comes up and is like, yeah, no, of course we've got something for you. And then there's the nice visual contrast of this giant buff Hutt and the little Anzellans who are there, and they're like, hey, big guy, and it's all everyone's welcome here. And so I just found that to be actually very emotionally profound, and I was extremely impressed.
I think you're making great points, and I think there is a thing in Star Wars of everybody matters, and I think sometimes that it's real explicit, but then sometimes we kind of have a character who's there for a short time and they're kind of funny or whatever, and I feel like there's an ethos that comes from Lucas of like every little background weirdo, every glup shitto. If we stopped and spent time with them and went into their internal world, they would be a real, sentient being that really matters. And I think Rod is just such a great example of that. Not a glup shitto, not just a joke, a character that really matters. And I think Din and Grogu, to me, a lot of their bond is they're both in their own way traumatized orphans. And Rada has a different life experience, but he is also a traumatized orphan. And I feel like it's just such a heartwarming story that they continue to go around the galaxy, recognizing people who have had, a rough life and a reason to be in pain, a reason to be angry, and find ways to connect and help. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I agree that Rada's kind of been a little bit of a breakout and a revelation for a lot of folks, like I said earlier. And I was with you, Jared, when that news was announced. I wasn't laughing at it. I was excited Rada was back, but it was just kind of like seeing Jeremy Allen White's doing it. I know other people called it a waste. I was just like, they're cooking up something fun. But I still kind of thought Rada would be in it for like 5 minutes, especially after Jeremy Allen White said, I didn't even really get cast. Like John saw me at a party or whatever and said, want to come do a voice. And, here we go, this great character. And it's another example to me of, yes, there are Easter egg appearances, there's cameos, there's guest starring appearances of a character, and I think there's some clips going out this week of Dave and John in press talking with one of my former employer outlets. So that's unfortunate for them, but good sound bites of both them kind of acknowledging like when they pull someone in, there's a story there. And Rod is a great example of that, of just kind of allow them to do what they want to do with these characters. At the same time, John, in this interview I saw, was like, I love going to find the discarded figures. He tells a story in this interview of like, my older brother had all the cool ones and I had the discarded ones. So now I spend my whole life going like, what's their story? And I think he carries that into a lot of it. And then it gets written off by a lot of folks of just playing with action figures, this and that, cameos, glup shittos. Oh, Star Wars fans and their glup shittos. This was a great example of, we have a need in the story. What character fills that? Rada the Hutt. Who would have thought?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, it was extremely impressive, and it was, yes, we had fun cameos as well from characters like Embo, but this is just like an example of the fact that this movie, you don't even need to know that Rada the Hutt was the little punky muffin. He was
No, you don't. No,
you just need to know that he was Jabba the Hutt's son and that he's trying to be something more.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Jared.
Jared, we absolutely appreciate, my friend. Thanks for shining the light on Rada.
yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Take it easy.
They're calling in there. I'm telling you, my finger is not reading today. What's going on?
What's going on?
More super chats coming in.
Yeah. Let's I want to make sure that we don't miss any. Did we talk about this one? Oh no, thank you very much. Hello there. Adriana, excuse me, says, hello there, a longtime supporter, first time commenting. Loved Mando and Grogu with all my Star Wars love and heart. Sigourney Weaver fits so well and loved her cockpit acting. It was some fabulous cockpit acting. I agree.
You know what I loved about it? X-Wings move, I'm going to guess, pretty fast, but there was this calm serenity to her, having just probably lived her career in an X-Wing cockpit. But like, there was a lot more room, I felt, in these X-Wings. So maybe the New Republic's like, let's space it out a bit. Let's space it out a little bit. Maybe I think Laserbolt said in chat, let's see Rada fly an X-Wing. Let's modify it.
Yeah.
I think you can do it. I love that. Great point. Dave checking in. Thank you for the super chat, Dave. Serious question regarding the current headlines. Why is it shocking news that the 12th film in a franchise is the lowest grossing one? Isn't that normal? I think outside of some of the factors we're talking about that do factor into this particular film at this particular time. Yeah, I think there's some truth to that, right? Usually.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
You know?
Sorry, go ahead, Ken.
Usually the first, oh my God, big numbers. The second one, okay. And then the third one's the people who stuck around. And I think that's just how general audiences work.
Yeah, I think this is entirely normal that film later in the series would do a little bit less. And also it's a matter of Star Wars should be able to do different scale films. I want them, if they're eventually going to do the Simon Kinberg trilogy of a new films, like, yeah, those ones need to kind of be big saga blockbusters, but I also want them to just be able to do an offshoot film like this.
I agree with that. 2-part super chat. Thank you, Amaranth. Part 1, much as I loved MSL, I love this film more. It wasn't awkward to shift from a beautiful Darksetter seduces Jedi animated series to a wonderful father and son live-action adventure focused on the legacy of the Mandalorian way. Both did what they set out to do and did it well. Speaking about Maul Shadowlord and this film. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we've been talking about the buffet for a long time, and I've been seeing more of that conversation on the socials this week of just like, all these styles can exist, even if you do love the Andor more or the Maul. I really echo that. And sometimes I'm in the mood for this, and sometimes I'm in the mood for Andor. Totally how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. I think we've been really lucky as Star Wars fans to get 2 different meals at the buffet in recent times with Maul and Mando. Alan Smithy says, happy 82nd birthday to Grogu's Uncle Yoda. It's also Miss Piggy and Fozzie's birthday as well. How could that be? Thanks for the show last night. And your little man. I did a bit last night. Alan Smithy was kind enough to come to the show, and I did a bit last night of the thing I've talked about on the podcast before of taking pictures of my Obi-Wan Kenobi action figure at Star Wars Celebration, getting caught in a pub and a server saying, "Oh, you have a little man."
And Alan, thank you again for coming out to the show. But if you want more of my Mando Grogu Force Flow body cream, which every audience member got a squirt of, a big squirt.
Powerful. Big, powerful squirt.
Underestimated how 7 people with body cream on in one tiny room would work.
Powerful smell. Powerful smell. Silver Blue Mando, thank you for the kind super chat. Says the Mandalorian Grogu is the type of adventure I imagined as a kid when playing with my Lego Jango Fett. It's not the next Star Wars movie people were craving, but it's definitely a great Star Wars bounty hunter story. I think that is a great point. It really does fulfill some of those fantasies of really focusing on the bounty hunters.
the scariest thing about that wonderful comet is when I imagined as a kid was playing with my Lego Jango Fett. No. You were 27 in 2002. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? KW Super Chat. Mandalorian Grogu is a Bond movie. Opens up at the end of Last Adventure. Visits M, get a new car, finds Bald Batty, gets caught, fights his way out. Marines arrive to destroy the evil heir, and all the emotional Grogu stuff. Totally. I really agree with that.
I'm a big James Bond fan, and I totally agree with that. There are a lot of structural similarities. And I also think like that. I was thinking about Bond on this stream. I think there is a part of this film that is a kind of a throwback, like the James Bond series and many others like it weren't about super duper character development. It would be Bond would kind of have a little bit of an arc in some way, more so in recent years with Daniel Craig, but it would be an adventure. And I feel like this is a little bit more in the Bond model of this is an adventure. And there's more character development than there used to be in Bond movies, but it's a light touch on the character development. And so, I love that. And great and funny breakdown of all of the similarities.
Also, we should point out, you're right. Yeah, Sal Von Bacon was that 13th film. Don't forget the Clone Wars film. And we don't because we're talking about Rada. But and David points out, not a lot of series get to 12 films. So something there. One final super chat in, and then we'll get to Ethan, and then Anthony and Steve. When I say Ethan and Anthony, that sounds too close to Smosh. Igor the Mad, love the film so much. It's just a fun and solid movie in the vein of Zorro or The Mummy, whatever criticisms there may be. It made everyone feel excited to go to the movies. Zeb and Rada were great. And I love, too, there's so many references and inspirations in Star Wars. There's so many projects and stories that are built into the DNA. So I love that even... We got a vein of Zorro, a vein of The Mummy. A lot of people watch this and apply it in their own ways to the things that move them. And I'm with you, too. I called it Space Wick meets a Muppet movie because I got the feeling from both. And those things kind of work.
I think that's a great point. And so many people have been saying it is a fun adventure. And I really agree. I think it's a fun adventure with ideas to it, but it is also just a fun adventure.
Fun adventure, indeed. All right, we got a couple calls lined up. Ethan, Anthony, and Steve next in the block here. Let's go to our good friend Ethan Osvetnik 1138 on the phone or on the camera today. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. How are you, gentlemen?
Good.
Great Monday. Yeah. So talk to us. I know you said in our Discord. I'm sure some things did work for you, but you had some stuff about the father-son dynamic relationship. Talk to us. I'd love to hear it.
Well, yeah. Well, just to start off, like I love the movie.
Awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
We all had a great time. The wife, the kids, all of us. I had to protect my 8-year-old from the Amani a couple of times. Lift up the armrest and hold him tight as they were.
They're scary.
Not laughing at the fear. I just I've been there at 1983 when the Rancor comes on. So yeah.
So I really did enjoy the film.
You loved it, yeah.
But I was disappointed a little bit when it came to some of the father-son stuff. Now, I've heard what everybody else has said and what you guys have said about it, and I don't disagree with any of it. I think I just wanted a little more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're a father. I will point out too, you're a father. I'm a son, but I'm not a father. So yeah. Sorry, Joseph.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I was curious if you had a similar experience to me. That line is so powerful about the old protect the young, and the young protect the old, and it was just such a banger line in the trailer. I think we all got so excited that was sort of the tip of the iceberg of that storytelling. And I saw the film, and it was like I didn't dislike it. I was just like, oh, that's not the beginning of that idea.
That was the punctuation.
That's the punctuation. They put the whole idea in the trailer. And for me, I wasn't mad at the film, but I was kind of grumpy about the choice to put it in the trailer, because I think it would have hit me even harder if it had not been in the trailer.
Yeah.
And I told my wife on the way, I was like, I saw it first without her, and then I saw it with her, and I was like, and she's like, I haven't seen any of the trailers. And I'm like, I'm going to be so excited to hear your thoughts free of the trailer. And she was even more emotionally affected by that line, because she didn't have weeks or a month or however long we had to wonder what more is there going to be there. So I'm curious how you relate to that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think See, that's that's kind of the double-edged sword that we kind of deal with, right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that like when we're weird and all in like we are,
Mhm,
we
mhm.
go in maybe with more expectation than others, and we
Right.
do our best to kind of keep those expectations in check. But
Mhm.
inevitably, we're going to fail a little bit. And I feel like that's where most of this criticism of mine kind of comes from. Is that I kind of came in with an expectation and it didn't quite match it. And so, but at the same time, I feel like it's fair to, well, let me just kind of get into it there. So, because I keep talking around it, I wanted a little more emotion out of Din Djarin, and I wanted maybe for him to just say out loud, "I'm proud of you. I love you." Like something, I just feel like and I have said this in the Discord, and people have been very, quick to point out that he is a very stoic character, and I agree with that. And it's absolutely true. So for him to still be very like stoic with the way that he expresses emotion and everything makes absolute sense. But I also kind of feel like if you're going to bring this to a movie theater, that maybe the character should have a big move forward to match the size of the screen, maybe. Because, we talk about the arc that he has been on over 3 seasons and now a movie, and like he has progressed a lot. But I feel like if you're going to take and do like a whole 2.5 hour, however long it was, thing, that maybe there should be a little bit more movement over that, if that's a story that you're telling.
Just in terms of
Just
words,
yeah,
or yeah, you're
yeah,
right. Like
or
I was
just
going to defend
well,
stoic people because if you've ever seen me at a stand,
no, and I
here's
can
me,
be
here's me
that
at a comedy
way.
show.
I'm not, like being a dad changed that a lot for me. And maybe
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
part of it too, is that,
yeah.
I wasn't necessarily somebody that was very forthcoming with my feelings.
Right.
And now that I'm a dad, like I am a lot more, like, stupid things make me cry.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
So,
Sure.
maybe there's a little bit of that, like kind of informing this for me as well.
No, it's
But
valid.
I don't know. It kind of bothered me a little bit that, Grogu has his whole, little bit of the film that's all on his own, and
Right.
saving his dad, taking care of his dad, and all of that. And then at the end of it, there's really, I don't think he even says thank you. I think he says, "Hey kid," and then like I like the way that I like the way that Alex at Star Wars explains that he's like, "Hey kid," quotes scripture at him, and then moves on.
Yeah. But see, I saw someone in our comments who was like, they broke down in tears at the "Hey kid" line, and I'm not saying that to refute.
No,
You, I'm
and
just
like,
saying it's
the
just
"Hey
like
kid" was, and like I don't disagree, and I felt something in that moment, but like when I think about it afterwards, maybe it just, I don't know. I would have liked a, "Hey, great job, kid. I'm proud of you."
Yeah, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from, but I think for me, I felt that in some of the things that Din says to him. I think quoting the scripture is the way he says, "I love you." He's
I think
training
so too.
Din. He's training Grogu to be a
I
Mandalorian,
go
and that's
back
like,
and forth.
you nailed it. Like, no, I get it, and I feel like we should all give ourselves grace to feel a complex thing about one film. We don't have to be a rush to be like, one time I watch it, it's like I feel that way sometimes about like the Luke scene in Rise of Skywalker. I love everything he says to Rey, and sometimes I watch it, I'm like, pump the brakes. This scene should be twice as long. There should be pauses in it. And then sometimes I watch it and be like, it's paced just fine. And like my feeling about it changes every time I watch it. I also feel that moment, they find the ship that Rada was kidnapped from, and Din takes out the Amani. And he turns to Grogu and gives Grogu the choice of like, well, we got a ship. Should we leave or do we stay and fight? Grogu has a little affirmative. It's a fist pumping hero moment, but I also feel like it's a really important moment in. I'm not the dad. I'm not telling you just what happens. I'm asking you to have agency and decide together what happens.
Yeah. And that's a great point too. See, and again, I've seen it once.
Yeah.
And these are kind of the things that like I left thinking. And in listening to you and seeing what other people have said, like I'm starting to kind of come around a little bit more on it. But I do still kind of get hung up a little bit on things like telling your kid to heal. Not my favorite thing. Not my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I'm all for leashes on kids, so that was it. Finally someone said it.
Yeah.
And like it's played for comedy, and and so it's
Yeah. No, I think these are all valid things to wrestle with, and I love hearing your perspective and other perspectives of people who are parents. And I think it's really valuable, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no. Ethan got a lot of calls lined up, but I appreciate you coming in and I appreciate you coming in and being honest and where you're at, and you might stay there, you might change it. You also maybe you're afraid of the Yamani too. Let's just be honest.
I mean,
who was helping who?
They were scary.
Damn scary.
So freaking scary. Anyway, have a great rest of your day, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ethan.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it as always. Great stuff. Yeah, no, and I think everything you said is as we always say, valid. With you come out of it, you have these thoughts, and they don't necessarily stay there. I think you're right. Things, you go back even years later. There's things in Last Jedi they don't hit for me as much as they did 5 years ago. There's things in A New Hope that I'm like, hey, I've seen this 50 million times. Get going. Like it happens. It happens. All right. We're going into bonus time here, but we got Anthony, we got Steve on audio, Ryan, Brady, Detective McCarcel. So let's take Anthony. Anthony, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, what's up, ForceCenter? It's good talking to you guys.
Good
to talk to you.
Yeah, so I had a couple things. Like, I think what you have said, Joseph, about the violence, the fighting, I felt I was surprised. I didn't go into the movie thinking it was a PG-13 movie. I thought it was a PG. And the level, and even at the end when the X-Wings come flying in, the calm viciousness at the way they just took out everything almost felt scary. It was almost like, wow, they are so overpowered. They're OP in this fight. They're just going to take everyone out. And that, I left the movie feeling very happy about that. And the action scenes were incredible. Like I was like, this is well beyond what I was hoping for. So I love that about the movie. Oddly, I saw it in a full theater on Friday night, but I was the only one laughing and yelling. It felt kind of weird, but
okay.
But it was still cool.
Hey, you did it though. You did it.
Yeah.
And I think when I left the movie, though, what I was confused about was Din's plot or what he went through in the movie didn't feel right. I think I came from the series thinking he already knows his clanmate, who is also his son, is capable, but he seemed to not trust him. And then it wasn't until yesterday that I let all that go of what I brought into the movie, and I thought to myself about how it relates to me. I adopted my 12-year-old daughter when I married her, my now ex-wife, but that period of trying to be a father, and I don't know how Din deals with a 50-year-old, but with a 12-year-old, I'm not starting from infant. I'm starting from, okay, I got to figure out this 12-year-old and figure out how do I be a father. And what hit me was the moment when he's in front of the twins and he realizes, I think it hits him that he's bringing his loved one into a world that he can't protect him from. And I think he goes maybe into a spiral where he figures it's better that he goes with the Anzellans and I just die because that'll be safer for him. That'll be better for him, for me to be out of his life. He won't have to deal with what Rada's dealing with. And it'll be better for him. And I think when he wakes up and he realizes his son, he's like, whoa, this is my clanmate. He is a Mandalorian. He is me. He decides to go, all right, throw all these thoughts about the future away. Just like Rada told him, stop worrying about what might happen if you guys lose each other. I'm going to show you what it's like to be me. So this is the way. I think that's the first time he says it in the whole movie. That he decides to go back to like, you know what? All I can give you is me. And the true me is a Mandalorian. And here you go. I really, that really hit me yesterday as I was thinking about it, that, man, this movie's awesome. But yeah.
And I'm glad you were the only one cheering loudly, proudly, staying in the pocket and screaming.
Yeah. I really like what you're saying. And it makes me think about how, Din doesn't seem too worried about Grogu in the first action sequence on the snow planet. And I think it's like this level of control of like, we are the hunters and we are going after these Imperials, and he knows how to hide and join me when he needs to and all that. But then when he's kidnapped and they're out of control and Grogu is being threatened directly, I think Din is kind of struggling with this loss of control, and makes him revert back to some of the great that you point out, the balance between training him to be a Mandalorian versus he's my son. And I think that's just, I'm not a father, but, I've been spending more time with my dad. And when I was visiting him for a while, he wouldn't let me pull, when I was 50 years old, he wouldn't let me pull out of his driveway without watching for traffic for backing up. And I had to have the talk with him of like, Dad, in Los Angeles, I back up many times and you're not there. And I appreciate you want to be there, but you're actually making me more nervous standing behind my car. And he's like, all right. And he stopped,
That's great. And Anthony, I love you saying, hey, second viewing or thinking about it more, you come to a beautiful perspective, and people in chat are loving your perspective, as are we. To what you said at first of just, at the end of season 3, there is kind of, you feel some confidence, some connection. And I do think, because of the choice to make the movie standalone in a way, no story is truly a standalone. It's the universe shared by all these stories, but the going for the general audience, or resetting this up for the kids watching. I think you feel that a little bit. I guess I'm just saying I validating or justifying or right there with you on your initial thoughts of like, it almost feels like we're going slightly back, but I think that just also might be the nature of what they chose to do with the film. But that could still be a ding against it. I'm with you on that.
Oh yeah, and thanks a lot for all you guys' analysis and things. It's made Star Wars +2, +3 for me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you very much.
Thank you for your insights.
Thank you. I love that we got Steve, we got Ryan, we got a couple of chats to get to. Gosh, I'm getting too old. Scarlet Wolf, I love, I'm having trouble super chatting, but I wanted to say, and we say you don't always need a super chat to join the conversation, though we do appreciate them right now. She wanted to say that Rada needs to meet up with his cousin, Churro the Hutt from the High Republic. I think they would get along. Let's do it. More Hutt adventures. Laserball also said, I love how the Hutts live in a giant souffle. That's true.
Yeah, that man, the Slytherin was fantastic.
That little Hutt Caligula going on there. Dave McHugh coming back to Super Chat. A film starring a pup in a helmet can only achieve so much emotion. It could have used a few more scenes with the helmet off for sure. Yeah, and I think I went into it expecting, because we saw they unveiled Pedro's face early on enough in the marketing that I was like, all right, they know at this point we got to have reasons to see your face, dude. Like, let's do it. Mm-hmm. And it was what it was, and I'm happy with what we got. I like it. We got the helmet off Grogu to Din Djarin face scene at the end of season 2. Mm-hmm. I could have seen that at the end of the film for whatever reason, and get Pedro, for another day. And some people have big issues with Pedro not being there for the film and not being in there more, and other people maybe don't even care or don't even notice. They did what they did, but I agree with that sentiment that they put out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. All right, we got camera ready, Steve, and then Ryan and Brady. I pressed the wrong button. There is Steve. Steve with the ink. How you doing?
How's it going? You all right?
We're good, my friend.
Good. No, yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was I had a bit like lower expectations. I wasn't expecting it to be like the Rise of Skywalker, where everyone was going in thinking, how's it going to end? What's going to happen? I was expecting it to be just more of a, just it's standalone. Just maybe a few episodes, kind of in one big movie with a bigger budget. So, but I was very impressed with what I saw. I think the main thing for me is I saw it with my friend, who's a very, very casual Star Wars fan, and he surprised me and said, do you want to go and see this new Star Wars film? And I said, well, yeah, I'm the Star Wars guy of our friends group, so of course I'll go. He kept annoying me because he kept sending me TikToks of everything you need to know before watching the Mandalorian film. And I'm like, I'm the Star Wars person. I know all this already. This video was made for you. But so yeah, we usually see like Nolan films or more serious films. I didn't really take him for the kind of Mandalorian type person, but he had a whale of a time. He was laughing constantly throughout it, even more than I was. I think I enjoyed it more because he enjoyed it so much. So I was like, I kept looking at him, and every time Grogu was like dinging Din Djarin's helmet or putting him in the hut and smacking his head, he was absolutely cracking up all the time. So but yeah, he loved it. So it made me think maybe more the casuals will maybe even like this even more than hardcore Star Wars fans, maybe.
Well, they're certainly free of the expectations, and I didn't think anything with Grogu was tired. But all in fans have seen some of Grogu's bits. Somebody's seeing it fresh. It's like your favorite comedian. Like, wow, I've heard those jokes before, but somebody who's never heard them before. My God, that's great. I'm really curious to see if that will. If the good word will spread that you don't have to be an all-in Star Wars fan to just have a fun time at the theater, and that will, make a difference for the box office.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And
awesome.
Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, no, I thought they were pretty clever with not getting bogged down in certain lore with the Mandalorian, like you were talking about the helmet being removed. I think if they made that a really big deal, I think you would have to explain from previous seasons why that's a big deal. So I think they did well to just kind of ignore that as much as they could. And just kind of, just do what they need to do, really.
Yeah, I love it. I was going to say, Joseph, great analogy with the comedian thing, and I think that's sometimes forgotten. And there's this, I think, sometimes earned reputation, but sometimes I think it's bigger, it's smaller than people think, is that Star Wars for all the actually people, and we love doing that. But I don't know if it is that's the case, because there always seems to be a lot of these complaints that it's not as connected, it's not as this, and I think at the end of the day, I think I like the choice they made of they have their deep cuts. We get to go. Actually, the Amani were a figure released by Kenner. Like we get all that, but the people who are intimidated by the quote homework, and I know you addressed that, Joseph, as well in our review. I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised to hear that no homework required, because who likes homework?
Yeah, and I liked your point about the James Bond of it all. Actually, because I'm quite a big James Bond fan, and I didn't really think of it like that. Pretty much, nearly, apart from maybe the Daniel Craig ones, but all of them are its own separate story. Like no film leads on to the next one with him having trauma from his last film, or he doesn't even have the same woman from that film to the next. So it's its own separate story. And I don't remember a lot of people complaining, or back then when it was all different stories and they didn't connect, or
I mean, it was one of the revolutions of Star Wars that Empire Strikes Back wasn't. It's another Star Wars. It was such a development of story. So we're almost now in this place where Star Wars is saying, like, hey, remember back when it was just standard to be like, James Bond had an adventure, and this one's where he fights underwater. Now this is the one where he goes to space. Just go to another one. That they're a little bit back to, not entirely, but a little bit more of an adventure that anybody can just dip into. And Favreau is old enough that that's the way movies were for a lot of his life. So I wonder if there's a part of him is like, I want to give people that thrill of just it's a Saturday and you go and you see an adventure.
Jaws 2, still chomping. Steve, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. We really appreciate you checking in. I'm glad you had so much fun, and really glad your friend had a blast.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you, Steve. We got Ryan walking. Let's get Ryan in here. Poor Ryan has been, been looking down for like an hour. He's just been walking in a circle waiting to get his time in. Ryan, or you been biking? You got a helmet on.
I got my discourse helmet on right now.
Your discourse
to keep away
helmet.
the bad. Yes. No, I actually just got out of my second viewing at the Alamo here in Raleigh, and I happened to see that you guys are all on. I don't usually, because of the time zone difference, get to catch you all, but here I am with my fresh, warm takes.
Love it. Give us your takes.
Yeah, so I hopped on right as you were talking about kind of the arc of Din and I guess the stakes. And I wanted to share sort of my personal experience over this weekend. I had my own Mandalorian and Grogu sort of experience with my daughter, who's 4 going on 24. She went on her first plane flight to go visit her grandparents, just the two of us. Mom got to stay home. And this was a new experience, and all a little anxiety for both of us at the beginning. What can she handle? What can I handle? And as we worked our way through the weekend through TSA, trying to avoid, her yelling out, "I don't have a gun in my bag." Getting through that experience, and then on the other side, on the way back, I could see that she had grown as a person in her own emotional intelligence and her general intelligence, and let's talk about stakes. If Mando has low stakes, then I had ultra low stakes when we had to use the family restroom and I needed her to guard the door because I wasn't sure that it was locked. But she took on that role of guarding the door to make sure no one got in. And it's silly, but when I saw this movie again today, I couldn't help thinking about that experience and connecting it back to the beginning of the movie where Grogu's pressing all the buttons. That's what my child does too. And then at the end, he's like, "You know what? Come up here. It's your turn." And I could see our own arc in that. And maybe the stakes aren't big for the galaxy, but I would actually kind of argue those stakes are big as a parent of giving your child the chance to grow, letting them have that opportunity. And that is, as I've learned in 4.5 years, one of the hardest things is not being sure if they're ready, or maybe they know they're ready and I'm not ready for them to show that growth. And anyway, that really resonated with me in the movie. So I was teary. I don't know when I'll get to watch it with her because I think it's a little bit too violent at this moment for her taste, but I can't wait to share it with her. And I want to add in one more comment that's not related to this really. I got to know, I don't know if anyone's talked about this, the turbo pram that Grogu sort of hijacks. What is the reason that performance capability is on that? Because I just can't imagine what that would be, but I can't wait to find out. Anyway, thank you all.
I think we need to follow up that Rodian family and find out where they're getting their prams.
It's real. Yeah, maybe Rodians just have unbreakable bones, so they can go that speed. Maybe this is just a totally awful illegal company, and Grogu's like, "Oh, I'm familiar with this pram." They're actually shut down. Recall, they're not supposed to be on the street anymore.
I love that. Ryan, thanks so much for sharing that story. A lot of people in chat love your story and talking about the real world experiences that we all going to carry into these films. And I'm glad the stop in the restroom worked out okay, and that no stakes were lost there.
We made it. Only had to use my flamethrower once.
So there you go. Perfect, Ryan. Appreciate you. Thanks for calling in. Get home safe.
Take it easy.
Love that there. We've got a couple more calls lined up. Did we get any more super chats? Yeah, Jared Cosell sending one in. Rado's journey actually shares a lot of DNA with G the Hutt from the Vision short, Tatooine Rhapsody. Yeah, you also want to know part of his family's criminal legacy. Just wanted to be a rocker man. Yes, great point. Love that chapter in Visions. One of my favorites.
Yeah. And with Rada being a part of the New Republic, who knows? Maybe Rada will take out Thrawn. Maybe that's where this is all headed.
Maybe indeed. We got Brady with audio here. We saw Brady last night at our comedy show, Floppers. Thanks to those that showed on up, which of course means that Brady got a free big glob of Mandalorian and Grogu Force Flow, which was still on everyone's hands for hours after. Brady, how you doing?
I still smell that wonderful Grogu cream.
It's powerful. It's got the Force Flow in it.
What is that? What is Force Flow? So disturbing.
Oh man, God bless you. Thank you, Brady, for coming out again, as always. But what's on your mind about this film?
Yeah, I got a lot of like appreciating of some of the little weird things, and I got one like appreciating of a big theme in the movie.
Got it.
One of them is like I love the Scorsese Cubano. I think it was
Mhm.
Cubano.
Yeah.
And then there was that little that big hut in the background. It was just squeezing out of his little hole, and it was like looking like I don't know if he had some party and he was just it's just in the background when they're first ending Nalhada.
Mhm.
And then there was another one, just like stop motion robots in the big 2026.
Yeah.
And just full on stop motion, not even just like
Mhm.
it's like, oh, this is a little bit stop motion, and we mostly did everything, you know.
Yeah.
But no, it was like full on stop motion, and it looked great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Phil
it made so
Tippett
much sense
and
for
that.
those robots. The robots. For the
Yeah,
robots,
that's-
it made perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with Jared in chat. The sandwich that Hugo Durant was making actually looked legitimately good. And I know, you know, part of the promotion they had Favreau and I think Roy Choi were made them, including dyeing the onions to look like it. So I'm on board. I'm on board. Brady, great stuff. You said you had something about the themes.
Yeah. I love the phrase the old protect the old protect the young, then the young protect the old. Because that is actually a really good translation of a Chinese idiom called "yang er feng lao," which I mean directly translates to pretty much directly translates to what was said by Din Grogu. And I love it because it's just it's a universal concept, and I don't think there's ever been really been idiomized in English before. So maybe this is a Star Wars contribution towards English literature and culture.
That's really cool to
That's
know.
beautiful.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it's really powerful. Like I was saying on the review, interpersonally between Din and Grogu and the tradition of the Mandalorians, but I think just an important thing for our current civilization to think about.
Yeah.
I had some conversations going back to stop motion. I want to say I had some conversations this week of people really thrilled to see that, and really thrilled to hear that Phil Tippett was back. And then your theme point, Brady, I think is just wonderful, and this is why we love wide-ranging perspectives, experiences, and you know, understandings of the world. I think you're bringing something there that I would not have known, and I think that's a wonderful thing to put out there.
Yeah, and I love how it connects to Rada's character, because obviously Jabba did not protect the young. He did a really poor job, and as a result, the Hutt culture essentially it brings its own ruin. Because
I think that's absolutely a big part of what's going on in the story for sure. And you know, the Hutt cartel kind of being slowed or stopped. Who knows? I know there's other Hutts up in Galaxy, I would think, but I know between Vader slicing them in the comics, all down, and this one, that might affect the criminal underworld going forward.
Yeah, things ain't going great. Yeah, I think it's a great point. There's so many connections between Rada's journey and Din and Grogu's, but I like how explicit it is that Din and Grogu are involved in an exchange of cultural wisdom, and the twins are. No way the young can take over. They have to die instead. We should be in power forever. It's like pretty direct. Yeah.
Love it there. Brady, thanks for calling in. As always, appreciate what you do and say. Maybe he's gone.
I said thank you.
Oh no, it didn't come over, Brad. I'm sorry. I just don't want to cut people off. I have a reputation for cutting off calls. So thank you, Brady. We'll see you. And Soundwave said, "Where's Soundwave? One of my favorite Transformers. Hey, ForceCenter. I've been to see it 3 times so far. Loved it more each time. Love hearing that.
Great.
So all right, we got one more call lined up here. Then I'm gonna go eat some leftover pizza. But it's a video call from the wonderful Detective McCarcel. Michael checking in today. Not in a car, not climbing a mountain. Where are you at? How you doing, my friend?
I'm safely in my bedroom, Ken, much to my chagrin.
Okay.
How fast is a bedroom moving, right? It's traveling, right?
Well, the Earth rotates at about I'd have to double check the number. It's over 1,000 miles an hour, actually.
We're flying. We're zipping.
We're zipping.
Moving through face.
What was your reaction to Mandalorian and Grogu?
Honestly, warning for kids at home or parents at home, cover your kids' ears. The Cajun accent might start to slip out. And I was so excited about to get a papa. It was so good. Down there in the bayou.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
behalf of myself and Scotty, that was. I leaned over to my friend and I said, "I swear to God, if that gator opens his mouth and he's got a bad Cajun accent." I was almost disappointed that he didn't have a bad Cajun accent.
That's how we know it's not the Clone Wars, right? In the Clone Wars, he would have had a real bad Cajun accent.
Yeah. Lovely. Come around here anymore. Yeah, it's great. I love it. Yeah, no, absolutely. The Bayou is canon now. Brady said it too. Louisiana is canon.
Push Parish is real.
Well, what else do you love?
Yeah, go for it.
I loved how much of an absolute menace Din Djarin was in this movie, because one of my friends leaned over because he hadn't watched season 3, and he was like, "It's been a while. Was he this badass in the series?" I was like, "No, he's an absolute fucking menace, right?" Sorry, he was on one in this movie. They really cranked. He's been training since season 3.
Yeah, I love what that he is portrayed often as like a horror character of like he is unstoppable. He's coming for us. He's got some Terminator, Michael Myers moments that are just like, and we're made to feel them. It's it's great action, but we're made to feel, Din Djarin's coming.
No, you're spot on. That opening scene was him just fully Terminatoring his way through those Imperials, and it was great. Like. And again, they're Imperials, but when he kicked that guy off the cliff, couldn't believe it.
I can't wait for you to just burn up. I need you to fall too. Yes.
There were some that he didn't even have to kill, and he still put them down. I was like,
it was some no chances taken. I really love the fight. And a couple of people have mentioned it. The fight in the Salt Club when he really doesn't want that fight. Like you're gonna close the door and pull this bar bullshit on me, and really affected by the fact that when he leaves, we were watching them all like moaning and putting stitches in. Like that's such a choice for us to go like, don't mess with this guy.
I was honestly shocked that they were like recovering. I thought so many more of them were dead. Again, it was just so brutal.
It was really brutal.
Break some of their necks.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It was real. If you've played the Batman Arkham games, where Batman is especially brutal in those games, and they're like, they're just fine. The Batmobile has rubber bullets. Like, you can't tell me those people aren't crippled for life.
Yeah, I've played the first one. It's been a while, but I remember doing some of those special maneuvers with a lot of crunching and borderline Mortal Kombat stuff, and like, but they'll be fine. They've got good insurance. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Indeed. Wonderful stuff, Michael. Any other big moments that you want to talk about? Any themes that hit you?
I was honestly a bit of a critique for me was that part of it. I think there was a lot of repetitive bits, like him having to fight the Amani and then also having to fight the dragon serpent in that same spot. And like it was just little things like that did actually kind of irked me. I'm like, all right, hey, bladder's full and don't want to miss a second. So and on a repeat viewing, it probably won't bother me as much. But like on the first viewing, I was like, some of this is getting a little repetitive and like,
and that's why I said it like 5 minutes shorter. You could tighten up some of that.
No, I think a lot of what's special about the film, in my opinion, is that Jon Favreau has enough clout to make the movie he wants to make. And then every once in a while, I think with that, sometimes, directors fall in love with their babies. And every once in a while, like, I think if you went through it and just shortened a couple of little fights, it wouldn't damage the film.
That's probably very true. Yeah. He's only one of the most successful directors of all time.
Yes.
There you go. Michael, we appreciate it. We're so happy that the Bayou is represented in Star Wars for you.
Get it, Papa.
Love him. Thank you, buddy. We appreciate you.
Later, guys.
Easy, pal.
All right. I think we got one more super chat that we can pack up and go. Aaron says, just go home from seeing it for the first time. Mostly enjoyed it. I don't know if the Hut Speaking Basic will ever work for me. Movie was fun. And actually, I do think it's I think it's the Jabba in me, right? It's still sometimes it's not that it doesn't work, but you just I've even expressed that even with like Zeb or other kind of aliens. Sometimes when it's too one direction in terms of an accent or something, and this is maybe the Clone Wars of it all, I rub up against it a little bit. I liked it in this. I think I got used to it. I liked the use in the beginning when the twins were speaking Huttese in that switch to basic, right when it was driving that point home to Din Djarin. I really like the use there. But yeah, I understand too. It might always rub up against.
Yeah, I agree. And I think for me, you know, I bumped up against that in the Clone Wars hard back in the day. But I understand wanting it to be more accessible to kids.
Yeah.
And for me, this was a great balance. It was one of the few kind of not spoilers that I saw from people who saw all the advanced screenings, as I saw a couple people complaining about or being bothered. I shouldn't say complaining, being bumped by the speaking of basic. So I thought it was just going to be all basic all the time. So I was really thrilled that they started with Huttese and they switched. And for me, I totally get it. I know Amaranth clarifies that even Rada spoke Huttese first. Right. So I do like that. Like, there's a practical thing of like, that's a lot of Rada talking for it to be in Huttese the entire time. So I like that. Like, yep, that is his natural way of speaking, but he's speaking to other people. Yeah. And basic is the common language in the galaxy, so he switches. I think that works for me.
It works.
But I get it.
Yeah, as Brady says, "Oh, Zero the Hutt," but you know, come to love Zero. I think that's it. I think that's it for now and for today. Unless you see anything else you want to get to, Joseph, in terms of comments and all that stuff. David McCubbin and Rada goes to Huddies when fighting the twins.
And that was because it was all filth, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get to it. We're gonna talk. I'm gonna say some things that kids don't need to understand. Without a doubt, this is not the last time we're going to be discussing Mandalorian and Grogu. There's things to dive into, things to celebrate. We'll do some good old fashioned Star Wars ranking, all those kind of things. I'm glad that the joy's here, and we're gonna ride that wave for the next month or so. And it's now, Mandalorian and Grogu is here, and it's part of our Star Wars conversation going forward. And I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, me too. Really love this film, and it's really great to hear everybody's thoughts and reactions and the way you saw it and how your own life affected it. We absolutely love having this community and having people who can talk in a friendly way about what worked, what didn't. So thank you all so much for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate y'all being here. Thank you for Super Chats Day. We will probably be back Friday with something, maybe. I don't know. At some point, I also wouldn't mind a day off from working, but we'll work on that. Joseph's got a lot of things going on, too. Jennifer says hello, by the way. We're trying really hard to maybe get her to call in today or be on the review, but life is lifing. So
yes.
She sends regards.
I think both Ken and I think we both texted her and like, you're happy with the Hutts, right? Jennifer, very happy with the Hutt content in this film.
Indeed. So that is it. Where to follow us if you're watching live on YouTube, down below the links. Joseph, your YouTube channel is where your short films are, and you're releasing one soon?
So I'm finishing one up this week, and I'll probably be out in the next month or so. But there's like over an hour of short films, and somebody kindly put in the comments that they did a deep dive on all the stand-up that I have on there. So there's hours of entertainment on my old YouTube page if you want to check it out.
There you go. Follow me at Napzok for more, or catch me tonight live on my show, The Blathering Live, as we have some fun a little later in the evening. We'll see y'all next time here on ForceCenter.